Olympias of Epirus. Story of a king's mother, Olympias of Epirus, was born around 375 B.C.E. with the name Myrtale. She was the daughter of the Molossian king Neoptolemus in Epirus, part of the Aeacidae royal house. As for her mother, she is absent from sources, but some scholars have suggested that she was a Chaonian princess in northwestern Epirus. This match makes sense when considering the Molossians' strong relationship with their neighboring Chaonians. Olympias's family and lineage. As siblings, we can identify an apparently older sister of her, named Troas, who, when Olympias was still an infant, must have married her uncle, Erebus, ascended the throne in around 360 B.C.E., the successor of her father, Neoptolemus. Olympias also had a younger brother, Alexander, who would later become famous for his campaign against the Lucanians and Bruti in southern Italy. As a member of the Aeacidae, Olympias was thought that she descended from Aeacus by Neoptolemus. Plutarch, Lives Alexander Setu, a mythical king who was the grandfather of Achilles. Also, Olympias seems to have claimed descent from Helenus of Troy, son of King Priam and Hecuba, a popular belief among the Chaonians. This strong lineage, combined with a focus on martial prowess and the powerful authority of women in a Molossian society, shaped a strong and ambitious character in Olympias. The Molossian princess learned at a young age the power of symbols and their influence in politics, even using herself in a symbolic manner. Another name of hers was Polyxena, the mythical daughter of Priam who comforted the hero Achilles, thus drawing attention to her heroic Greek-Trojan connection. Marriage with Philip. Another element present in Olympias was her zealous dedication to the cult of Dionysius, a cult that in Olympias's practice involved snake charmings and sexual rituals among groups of women. Even Olympias's name as a youth, Myrtale, seems to illustrate Olympias's dedication to Dionysiac rites. Olympias would later pass both her belief in divine power and divine descent to her son, Alexander the Great. We can credit her for Alexander's later fascination with Trojan heroes, especially Achilles, with the Macedonian prince carrying a copy of Iliad with him at all times. Olympias also stood behind the fiction of Alexander as an offspring of her and Zeus, rather than her and Philip II, a fiction that she did not hesitate to implant on Alexander himself. When Olympias turned 18 in 357, she married Philip II, 10 years older. The couple had met for the first time on the island of Samothrace, while both of them were being introduced to a very old cult, important to Macedonians and northern Aegeans, known as the Samothrace Mysteries. About this match, Plutarch tells that Philip, being still a youth, fell in love with her and betrothed himself to her. Plutarch Lives Alexander Setu. Whether with love or not, the marriage seems to have been arranged by Olympias's uncle-stepfather Erebus. It also fulfilled the first stage of Philip's policy of marrying multiple wives from the neighboring regions for the purpose of securing Macedon's borders. Mothering Alexander. In 356, Olympias gave birth to Alexander, who would later conquer the whole Persia. It was the same year when Philip captured Potidæa, his general Parmenio defeated the Illyrians, and Philip's racehorse won the course at the Olympic Games in July. Plutarch Lives Alexander III. The combination of the successes related with Alexander's birth made the Macedonian consider the infant prince as a good omen. In honor of her husband's victory at the Olympic Games, Alexander's mother took the name Olympias. The latter also had a daughter, born in quick succession after Alexander Cleopatra. The nature of her relations with her daughter remain unclear, but those with her son Alexander appear more frequently. Giving birth to a son presented new challenges and opportunities for Olympias. It elevated her to the status of the mother of a potential successor king. Yet, it also brought conflict into a royal house with other wives thinking for the path to kingship of their own sons. Plutarch's accusation of Olympias for poisoning Alexander's half-brother, Aridaeus, causing him dementia, reflects the rivaling nature in Philip's household. However, the ancient author seems to have gone too far in what seems to have been Aridaeus's born deficiency. By all accounts, Olympias was a domineering and interfering mother who sought to pave the way for Alexander's accession into the throne. Her son grew influenced by her mother's ambitions, with both developing a warm and close relationship. Crack with Philip. Philip continued to marry other wives, a practice that did not sit well with Olympias, eager to make her son an heir. In Plutarch's view, the couple's source of problems were Olympias's snake-charming cults. The queen made a habit of having a snake near her in the marital bed, a habit that dulled the ardor of Philip's attention to his wife, so that the king ousted her, either because he feared that some spells and enchantments might be practiced upon him by her, or because he shrank from her embraces in the conviction that she was the partner of a superior being. Plutarch, Lives Alexander Thecum. The truth in marital crack seems to have been less romantic than what Plutarch presents. It has its roots in the growing pressure from Philip's Macedonian friends on him marrying a woman of true Macedonian blood. This would ensure a true Macedonian heir. In Macedonian view, young Alexander was half Macedonian, half barbarian. Olympias was considered non-Macedonian Bardanian due to her Chaonian and/or Molossian ethnicity. The threat to Alexander's kingship inheritance materialized in 337 when Philip decided to marry a Macedonian noble called Cleopatra, who would change her name to Eurydice. The match was expected to bring a true Macedonian heir. Attalus himself made this point at a banquet celebrating the match, a remark that angered Alexander. Olympias exiled herself in Epirus while Alexander did the same in Illyria. Assassination of husband and accession of son. In Epirus, Olympias found her brother already at the Molossian throne. With the help of Philip some years ago, Alexander the Molossian had even started the process of creating an Epirot alliance, a united federative state that expanded beyond Molossia and that initially included, apart from Molossia, Cassiopeia and Thesprotis. We are told that Olympias started a plot that involved her brother assaulting the neighboring Macedon. Although a successful invasion of Macedon from Epirot forces would have been difficult, Philip feared Olympias's influence in such projects. For this, he sought to renew and strengthen his alliance with Epirus by offering to Olympias's brother Cleopatra, his daughter with Olympias, thus Alexander's niece. The Epirot ruler accepted the proposal, which re-established Philip's influence and isolated Olympias. The wedding celebrations between Cleopatra and Alexander the rest of Molossia took place in summer at Aeacidae, Old Macedonian capital. At those celebrations, Pausanias of Orestis, a royal guard, killed the king. Alexander and his retinue soon overpowered the assassin and with that same speed announced Alexander III as the new king. The new ruler immediately led a purge against any contented to the throne and enemies. He had his cousin Amyntas IV, who was for many a rightful heir, executed. Assassins were sent to Attalus, who had offended Alexander, killing him too. Return into Macedon. Olympias returned into Alexander's Macedon. At her orders, soldiers slew Philip's other widow, Cleopatra Eurydice, and her infant daughter, Europa. Many then believed Olympias was behind the murder of her own husband, Philip. She had the motive. Philip's murder prevent Cleopatra Eurydice as a pure Macedonian from giving birth to a son of pure Macedonian legitimacy. It allowed the undisputed accession of her son Alexander on the throne. Other accounts mention Olympias paying respects to Pausanias's body, Philip's assassin, rather than Philip's. It's unclear if accounts incriminating Olympias are fabricated, or based on her motive, there are some elements of truth in them. If Olympias was behind the assassination, other close to Philip must have been in it too, since she herself was away in Epirus. In this scenario, the closest other suspect would be Alexander the Great himself. The things then get so complicated that the scholars must agree Olympias had no meaningful role in the assassination. Even ancient authors did not explicitly put the murder on Olympias. Growing reputation. Alexander's accession paved the way for Olympias' prominence in Macedon. Olympias' authority in Macedon is especially confirmed in an inscription dated in 330-326. It lists the recipients of grain shipments from Cyrene during the time of famine. Among the names of the states and their respective grain relief/subsidy quantity, only two individual names appear, Olympias and her daughters Cleopatra. Specifically, Olympias's grain quantity was 72,600 medimnos, at least 3,960,680 koli, second only to Athens's 100,000 medimos. This means Olympias was acting as the state leaders in this matter. Specifically, she was synonymous with Macedon. Olympias cultivated a popular and reputable reputation among the Greeks. Her popularity in Athens is especially meaningful. According to Lingsness, Olympia seemed to have had many supporters in Athens. Olympias is noted by Hyperides in his speeches for donating to temples, sending associated on shopping trips to the great agora in Athens, as well as addressing the Athenian ecclesia, assembly, through letters on several occasions. In 324, Olympias had the capacity and authority to send an embassy to Athens, demanding extradition for Harpalus, Alexander's treasurer who went rogue. The privileged position of Olympias in Macedon conflicted with the role of Antipater as Macedon's governor, ruler in Alexander's absence. Rather than a bureaucratic friction, tensions between Olympias and Antipater were of a characterial, personal nature. In fact, tensions between the two so intensified that Alexander had to interfere himself to prevent a destabilization of Macedon. Accordingly, the king had Olympias retreat in Epirus, with Cleopatra taking her mother's place in Macedon. By 324, Olympias was in Epirus. Thanks for watching.